Deciphra. Let's see how dark the internet gets tonight.
Huge part of my life, I had the morals clauses. They caught absolutely everything, and of all the things that they would fire me over, this was the last thing that I thought they would ever fire me over. And when I actually went out onto stage, it was live with Kelly and Michael, I had no intention or plan to talk about postpartum depression. It just came up, and I was just being honest. And never for a second did I think that anyone or care that anyone would have a bad reaction to it. It was my truth. So when I got that call that Neutrogena wanted to fire me over that, and my representative at the time said, that's illegal. You can't do that. And even though, she saved the day that year, I knew that was going to be it. That I was not going to be invited back the next year. And I had worked with these people for 10 years, and I remember not hearing a word from anybody.
Imagine being honest about struggling after having a baby and then losing work because of it. Absolutely grim.
They're already dead. They just don't know it yet. Yeah, guys, this social media influencer's birthday turned tragic when they decided to use dry ice inside their indoor swimming pool. This took place in 2020, and at the time, dry ice was trending on the internet. There were tons of videos going viral at the time of dry ice and the cool effects that it would have, especially when put in water. You see, what dry ice actually is a solid carbon monoxide, and when put in water, it goes from a solid to a gas. It causes a bubbling sensation in the water and then creates a very dense vapor. Social media influencer was celebrating her 29th birthday and had all our friends over, and they thought this would be a great idea. So they dumped 25 kilograms of dry ice into their indoor pool. At first they were super excited about it. It did create this really cool effect. They were all laughing and having a great time. A couple of them even jump in the pool and they completely disappear. You see, if this pool would have been outside, they probably would have been okay, but it was inside, which allowed none of the vapors to go anywhere. The lack of ventilation, it basically depleted the oxygen from the room. Fortunately, 3 people did lose their life, including the birthday girl's husband, turning this birthday into a disaster.
Yeah, the disturbing part of all of this is that looking at it, it looks completely harmless.
SpaceX want to put 1 million AI data centers into orbit. You heard that correctly. This is the Earth today, around 15,000 satellites in orbit, and about 2/3 of them belong to a single company, SpaceX. From the ground on a really dark night, you can maybe catch 2 or 3 of them drifting past. But if SpaceX's plan goes ahead, our orbit will be transformed into something like this. It's called AI-1, and as Starship pulls away, it starts to unfold. Fully extended, it's about 70 meters from tip to tip. And if that's not already terrifying enough, your night sky will be transformed to look like this. More machines crossing the sky than actual stars. You will never see the Milky Way again. And this gets seriously dangerous. They will be spaced out like this, each one separated by about 24 kilometers, orbiting as a grid in these massive shells. If 2 of them ever collide, it could set off a huge chain reaction, trapping us on Earth for good. But to learn more, make sure you're following.
1 million satellites sounds absolutely insane. I mean, at some point, the night sky is just going to become corporate property.
I never knew that the Rothschilds threw a crazy party for only the elites that is stranger than fiction. I cannot make this up.
What do you mean?
In 1972, the Rothschilds decided to throw this party, and it was called the Surreal Ball. It was an invite-only party, and all of the invitations were mirrored. So all of the guests were forced to have to look into a mirror to be able to decipher what's on the card.
Oh, wow.
Also, the way that they made the lighting in the building and even outside, they wanted it to look as if the building was engulfed in flames. The lighting, the way it looks, bro, it looks like the building is on fire. Also, all of the decorations for the tables and stuff like that were furry plates. Plates that were covered in fur.
What the hell?
And then, instead of giving them silverware, it was a dead fish.
Instead of like a fork and knife?
Yeah.
Really?
And on top of that, they would literally serve your food on top of the body of a mannequin on a bed of roses. The costumes. One of the Rothschilds, her name was Marie Rothschild. She pulled up to this party wearing a giant deer's head over hers and then she added these real diamonds to personify tears.
Wow.
This one really big actress at the time that was invited to the party, she was wearing a big like hat thing that was like over her head, and it was a bird's cage with real birds in it.
Really?
Yeah. Dude, I could keep going how crazy and fantastical all these people dressed up, and it's like some of them were like demonic, bro. It was
That's insane.
weird. Some of them almost look like still lives.
That's crazy, though. There's got to be a reason why it's so secret, and the reason why they dressed up in all these disguises and stuff. They must have been in there doing some real, like, Diddy type stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, regardless of how important you think you are, turning up with a giant deer head with diamond tears is absolutely mental.
I wonder why nobody invades the Amazon forest. Like, you have such a vast amount of land that nobody really wants to claim. I didn't even know people lived in the Amazon. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Amazon forest is as big as a continent. They have bullet ants. They are venomous. They also have 20 to 40 foot anaconda snakes. Like, you've seen the movie, those things are real. They have piranhas. Imagine joining the US military, going up against the military in South America. Mind you, Brazil's military trains in the Amazon. Probably the most hardest training that you'll ever encounter in the military. And imagine the worst thing you can run into is not one of the military people, but a fucking mosquito as big as a drone. The animals that live there alone, I don't even see why they have a military. Because who the fuck is going to try to invade that? Google Maps hasn't even mapped most of the Amazon because the forest is so thick. The jungle itself is so thick. It's not even a jungle, it's a battleground. It's a battleground. It's a do not enter area. That is what it is.
Yeah, the scale of the Amazon is absolutely ridiculous. And it's crazy to think that there's parts of the rainforest that humans haven't even explored yet.
This man just uploaded a video to Instagram circling the Federal Reserve building in New York, pointing out many mysterious things about it, which are pretty hard to fathom. His channel is called Old Good Thing. And he was impressed by the ironwork of this thing. All the windows have these giant iron grates. They don't want anyone getting in. It's made of solid sandstone and limestone from within the States. It's said to have the biggest gold deposits in the world. In the vault at the bottom of this thing is freaking gold, dude. I'm talking gold. Lots of it. But did you notice the address? Check out the top corner. The address, 33 Liberty Street, 33. There's 33s all over the building. Then it also has, he called them dog heads. The comments were saying, no, that's a dragon head. And I could only find like 2 pictures of it being built. I'm sure there's hundreds somewhere, but I couldn't find them very easily. And the question many people are wondering in the comments is why we don't build stuff like this anymore. And I know someone's going to say it's just because it costs too much. You know how much tourism countries in Europe get and how much money comes in because people want to see these giant castle-looking freaking Tartarian structures? They would pay for themselves, I'm sure. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is this the head of the snake? What's in this building, man? I'm sure there's secret passageways. There's got to be. Comment your thoughts below and follow for more.
Dragon heads, fortress windows, and 33 above the door. They really haven't helped themselves here, have they?
This nightmare house showed up, and it can be yours for $265,000.
Yay.
It is 6 beds, 3 baths, 6,800 square feet for $265,000. So I'll show you the photos first.
Chris, you're going to like
That's
it.
beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful. Astonishing. Nice seance room.
Literally.
You know,
So
of
that's
course.
what Chris, that's what I thought. Like when I saw that room, I was like, that looks like a seance.
I mean, to the point at which it definitely has a Scooby-Doo set of armor standing in the background, waiting to take a step forward while being totally empty. Yeah, that is
And a mirror facing the seance table.
What are we doing for that price? The amount of horror movies we could make.
It's true.
Oh, hey, look at the horse.
Why is the horse here?
We have that exact horse haunting
Yes.
our museum. That room there's all kinds of things wrong with this room.
Crazy?
This is what sold me on the place.
What is that?
Look at
what is it?
it's
Oh, you talking about the woman in black?
Yes. And the giant pendulum.
You know what's so funny?
And
when
the-
I saw this, I was like, Chris is gonna freak the F out when he sees the woman in black in the corner.
But because that's so shocking, you don't even notice the ginormous pendulum.
Yeah, all I can say about this one is whoever staged this house knew exactly what they were doing.
Every year, hikers vanish in Taiwan's mountains.
Now I can feel it. There is another piece of something. The worst that I ever saw.
Peter Novotny is the man they call when nobody else can find them. What's the percentage of finding them alive versus finding them dead?
Now he's mostly dead.
They call him Beast Runner. He moves fast, searching for clues.
Here is head, and there is the shoe. I see second shoe.
Do you feel scared sometimes?
Always, of course I get scared. But I have to always repeat myself, I'm healthy.
He says lost hikers seem to vanish like ghosts.
Okay, you are helping, okay?
But they always leave something behind.
Oh my God.
Imagine knowing that most of the people you are searching for probably aren't coming home.
In 1969, 3 teenage boys wander along a quiet road through the wooded hills of western Pennsylvania. Before long, they spot a figure approaching in the distance. As they get closer, the figure's disfigurement becomes increasingly apparent, with its eyes and nose almost entirely absent from its face. Realizing something is terribly wrong, the boys bolt in the opposite direction. As paranormal as the encounter may seem, the figure was no ghost at all, but a real man named Raymond Robinson. As a child, Raymond climbed a utility pole, hoping to get a closer look at a bird's nest. Unfortunately, he reached out and accidentally touched an electrical line carrying 22,000 volts. Against all odds, Raymond survived, but was left severely disfigured, with much of his face permanently damaged. Because of his appearance, Raymond spent much of his life in isolation, rarely leaving his home during the day. At night, he enjoyed long walks along seldom-traveled roads, where he could move freely without the attention or judgment of others. Despite the cruelty he sometimes faced, including being struck by multiple cars, Raymond was remarkably friendly and optimistic. Over time, locals came to see past his appearance, seeking him out at night to share beers and cigarettes. While his appearance sparked countless myths and legends, those who knew Raymond came to realize he was simply an ordinary guy looking for some sense of normalcy.
That's actually just really sad.
Something is happening outside American cities. As housing gets more expensive, more people are living in vehicles. Some because they have no choice, but others, they chose this. They watched the rent climb, the debt climb, the surveillance expand. The system became harder to escape. And instead of fighting for a better seat inside it, they left. Then they started finding each other out in the desert, on public land and forests, beyond the suburbs, small communities forming outside the machine. Not quite homeless, not quite traditional society, something else. A parallel society on wheels. And if the system keeps getting more expensive, more chaotic, and more controlling, don't be surprised when more people choose the wasteland.
This feels like people aren't just moving away from the cities, they're opting out completely. How bad does the system have to get before living in the desert starts looking appealing?
The moon is too big to be here. It's just too big. We've never found another system in our solar system or any other that has this giant moon right next to us like this. This is totally unique. We haven't found a moon that has such a perfect orbit like this.
No shit, I didn't realize that.
You know, a lot of people will point to the fact that the moon during the eclipse is like the perfect size to block out the sun because it's like a 400-to-1 ratio. The crust is different, older, and much thicker, and fewer impacts are on the far side that are on the near side. We didn't think it would be the opposite because that should be grabbing things as they come in, but instead there's not as many impacts on that side. During one of the Apollo missions, as a test, a seismic test, they crashed one of the rockets into the moon to see what was going on there. And the phrase is the moon rang like a bell for over an hour. So if you set off like seismic charges here to measure sound waves that go through the Earth, as they go through the Earth, they slow down. As they go through all this dense matter and then through the mantle and the core, like it just slows down. The moon, they don't do that. The sound waves sped up and started to bounce all around in there and started to like reverberate. It would make a lot more sense that the moon wasn't here than the fact that it is.
The moon is one of those subjects where the more questions you ask, the weirder it seems to get.
A man was struck with an axe 16 times while sleeping. Somehow, he woke up the next morning, used the bathroom, made breakfast, packed his lunch, and started getting ready for work before collapsing to the floor.
How do you get up and go to work after something like that? I mean, the human body is absolutely terrifying sometimes.
You know how many people died in 3 Mile Island?
No.
None. Chernobyl? I mean, not to poo-poo it, I don't know, 17, 27, something like that. Many in the explosion, some from thyroid disease years later. The area surrounding Chernobyl is called the exclusion zone. People are still forbidden from going there, except for the people who never left, who are now in their 90s.
Are you serious?
And thriving. Google the exclusion zone Chernobyl, and you will find it to be one of the most biodiverse places on the planet. All we had to do is get all the people out, and everything grew back. There's more wildlife and natural fauna growing around Chernobyl than you can believe. And I'm old enough to remember, a week after that accident, there was a black cloud in the animated graphics on ABC. Like, a third of Europe was blacked out. They were talking about how a third of Europe was going to be uninhabitable for 1,000 years.
Remove humans and even a radioactive exclusion zone starts thriving. Bit embarrassing for us, really.
Imagine having your life ruined all because you unknowingly pick up a criminal passenger. That's what just happened to this innocent Uber driver named Wenjian Zhou, and it's terrifying because he literally did everything right. You see, Wenjian got a message last year from what seemed like a harmless college student asking for a 7-hour ride from the Canadian border to New York. Although he thought he was picking up a Chinese guy since they were messaging in Mandarin, he was surprised to arrive on a Mohawk reservation and get met by this really suspicious guy. Since Wenjian was a Chinese immigrant who didn't speak much English, all he understood was that the guy had to deliver these massive packages to New York and that he wouldn't be coming with him. So even though Wenjian felt something wasn't right, he had spent the whole day driving here and had no reason to turn down such a simple request. After leaving, he actually called his friend and told him he was really worried it was illegal marijuana inside that he was being asked to carry. So when Wenjian indeed later got pulled over by Border Patrol agents who had been surveilling him for hours, he did everything they asked.
A customer asked me to come over and pick up something and take it to New York.
But despite showing his texts and even his dashcam footage as proof, he was soon facing up to 20 years in prison for carrying more than $500,000 in marijuana. Even though literally every piece of evidence and just basic common sense pointed to the fact that Wenjian had no idea what he was involved with, prosecutors have argued that the fact that he suspected it was marijuana and did nothing makes him guilty. After spending almost 2 years in jail and missing the birth of his first child while waiting for trials, to him and his wife's devastation, he was recently found guilty and is now waiting to be sentenced. In his own words, "I believe in the law in the US. That's why I came here. What is the difference between here and China then?"
All it took was one decision, one package, and then suddenly his entire life was basically over.
This is a huge deal. For the first time in human history, the Arctic shipping route is open. And there are 2 countries that have been waiting for this moment for decades. You see, today, this 35,000-ton Chinese vessel will become the first scheduled cargo ship ever to use the Arctic shipping route. And if successful, this shortcut will halve the normal 40-day Suez Canal route, saving billions of dollars and ushering the world into a new era of trade. So you're probably wondering, how come we've never used this before? 2 reasons: ice and Russia. Now, the first problem is being partly removed 10 years earlier than projected due to rising sea temperatures and melting ice. However, the Russia problem remains because all of this is disputed waters. It's gonna be a fun next few years. Russia claims it's theirs while the US and other Western countries say otherwise. But that's not a problem if your name's China. In fact, their historic voyage today was only made possible thanks to Russian nuclear-powered icebreakers as escorts. So right at a time where global shipping routes are in more chaos than ever, China and Russia are the only 2 countries able to use the quickest ocean route between East Asia and Northwest Europe. There are drawbacks though. It's unusable during winter currently, and it can be very expensive and dangerous. But considering the other options are increasingly becoming the same, the next few years, it's going to be all eyes on the Arctic.
This could completely change global shipping as we know it. Russia and China have certainly been waiting a long time for this door to open.
Which is the deadliest state to live in the United States? Most Americans might know that the safest state to live in the USA is Hawaii. So which is the deadliest state to live in the United States? 5th place, Oklahoma. Oklahoma has one of the highest opioid overdose rates, very high violent crime in several areas, poor healthcare access, and low life expectancy. 4th place, Illinois. Illinois suffers from extremely high violent crime rates in major cities, severe economic inequality, poor public health outcomes, and one of the highest murder rates among large states. Third place, Alaska. Alaska records the highest suicide rate in America, widespread substance abuse, severe mental health problems, and extremely limited medical services in remote regions. In the second place, New Mexico. New Mexico has one of the highest violent crime and homicide rates combined with severe drug problems, deep poverty, and some of the worst healthcare outcomes in the country. Before announcing the first place, comment in the section below the state you think is the deadliest to live in the United States. The state ranks first, has the worst overall combination of extremely high murder rate, terrible healthcare system, massive drug overdose deaths, deep poverty, and very poor public safety. That's Louisiana.
High murder rate, overdoses, and poor health outcomes. Louisiana is getting absolutely battered by this ranking.
The federal government just proposed forcing Arizona, California, and Nevada to cut their water use, and Nevada's governor is saying that it's unrealistic and devastating. So Lake Mead is the biggest reservoir in the country, and it's about only a quarter full, and it just passed the record low that it set back in 2022. They're saying that it's dropped 14 feet in the last year alone, and the basin just had the worst snowpack ever recorded, and they're saying that it keeps falling from here. 40 million people across 7 different states get their water out of that river, and that includes Las Vegas, Phoenix, LA, and San Diego. At around 1,000 feet, Hoover Dam starts shutting off turbines and loses about 70% of its power, and it's less than 5 feet from that right now. So the federal government has now stepped in, and they're proposing to cut off Arizona, California, and Nevada by up to 3 million acre-feet per year, which is enough water for 25 million people. Nevada's governor called it unrealistic and devastating, Arizona called it flawed, and these states have already blown past 2 deadlines on their own. Where is all of the water going?
When millions of people rely on one shrinking water system, you do start to wonder what happens when the maths finally stops working.
This is the scariest data center theory ever.
The head of America's largest utility is issuing an urgent warning right now that you could lose power next year due to the rise in data centers and the lack of energy in America's electricity grid.
I know that probably made you angry, but here's what we really should be asking. Why do we suddenly need so many data centers? Why do they require so much electricity? Why do they need millions of gallons of clean drinking water? And why are so many being built in strategically important locations? You're not gonna like the answer. It involves those trillion-dollar underground city projects. Maybe they just found a new way to expand that network.
The underground data centers are already a real thing. Suddenly the theory doesn't sound quite as crazy.
This is the disturbing story said to have inspired Stranger Things, and what happened inside that facility was truly terrifying. In 1973, an orphanage called Hawthorn House opened near a quiet town in rural Ohio. Officially, it sheltered children who had nowhere else to go. In reality, the building belonged to a classified government research program. The project was directed by Dr. Elias Mercer, a neurologist convinced that the human mind could be transformed into a weapon. None of the children were ever meant to leave. Once they arrived, their records were destroyed and their names were replaced with numbers. As the months passed, the experiments became increasingly brutal. Some children spent days alone inside sealed isolation rooms. Others were exposed to extreme cold or lowered into sensory deprivation tanks. Most of them eventually broke. Some stopped speaking. Others stopped reacting altogether. But one child changed everything. Her file was marked in red. Subject 11. Doctors recorded abilities they could not explain. Believing they were close to a breakthrough, Mercer ordered longer sessions and more powerful equipment. Then on October 21st, 1975, the entire facility lost power. Instead of locking shut, every security door opened simultaneously. 7 minutes later, the cameras came back online. The footage showed employees standing completely motionless while a small girl calmly walked past them. She entered the records room. Minutes later, every file was burning and every tape had been destroyed. By sunrise, soldiers had recaptured nearly every child, but Subject 11 was gone. Despite years of searching, she was never found.
Yeah, you can certainly see the similarities with the Stranger Things show. Creepy orphanage, weird history, and kids at the center of it. Proper nightmare fuel.
In 2023, 71-year-old Joao Pimenta da Silva reportedly became obsessed with a recurring dream in which his spirit told him gold was buried beneath his home in Brazil. Convinced the message was real, he began tearing through his own kitchen floor, hiring workers, and digging a shaft that eventually reached 130 feet deep. As the hole grew, so did his obsession, and he reportedly poured his life savings into the search. Then in January 2024, after more than a year of digging, Joao slipped from a wooden platform and plunged to the bottom of the narrow shaft. He suffered devastating injuries and died inside the same hole he believed would make him rich, with no gold ever found.
An obsession that started with a dream and eventually became the thing that killed him.
This is the only beach in the world where you could end up paying $3,000 just to get yourself back to the top. And that is exactly why they put it boldly on this billboard. Now let me show you something. Just look at all these people struggling to get from the bottom back to the top. Look at them. Some are barely moving, others have completely stopped and are stuck right there. And trust me, once you get exhausted on this hill, getting back up becomes almost impossible. That is where the money comes in. You see, this beach is basically a trap. Going down feels easy. In less than 10 minutes, you're at the bottom, running, laughing, enjoying yourself. But coming back up, that's where the real problem begins. Because this isn't normal sand. It's like climbing a mountain of loose, scorching flour. Every step you take up, you slide halfway back down. The sand is so hot it burns your feet right through your shoes. Your legs start shaking. Your heart is racing so fast you can barely breathe. And there's no shade, no water, nowhere to recover. And the top just keeps looking farther and farther away. That's why people collapse right here on this hill. And when that happens, park rangers have to bring a full rescue team down with a stretcher to carry you all the way back up. And that rescue can cost you up to $3,000. So think about it. Would you still run down?
$3,000 to be rescued from a beach. That's an expensive way to discover gravity. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. And as always, things are definitely getting stranger out there.